He walked into the office with old shoes and a worn-out shirt. People looked at him and laughed, some ignored him like he was nothing. They thought he was just a poor delivery man, but what if I told you he was the real boss? Why did he hide his true identity? And what happened when the truth came out? Sit back and find out as we dive into this shocking story. There was a man called Mr. Chinedu. He was very rich. He owned many food businesses, restaurants, bakeries, and delivery companies. His workers were in many towns. His vans moved goods from place to place. His food fed numbers of people every day. But even though he had money, houses, and cars, Mr. Chinedu was a quiet man. He didn't talk much. People who worked with him knew he was smart and serious. He also liked to watch people from a distance. He always paid attention to small things. Sometimes, he would sit alone for hours, thinking about how to make his business better. But the truth is, Mr. Chinedu was not always this rich. He came from a poor background. He knew what it meant to be poor. He had seen the bad side of life. He started small. But over time, he grew. He worked hard, saved money, and built one restaurant after another. But after many years of running his food businesses, Mr. Chinedu saw something strange. People acted very well when he was watching them. But when he was not there, or when given a high position at work, they changed. They became lazy, rude, and proud. He had seen this happen again and again. Mr. Chinedu had seen many changes in people he trusted. Ibrahim, his old driver, was kind and respectful before. After getting promoted to head of transport, he started abusing his authority and became more aggressive, particularly by frequently yelling at the other drivers. But Mr. Chinedu wanted leaders who could set good examples, not those who treated others badly. Mr. Chinedu shook his head. He thought, why do people change when given power? Why do they forget how to be kind? Mr. Chinedu sat in his office, tired and frustrated. He had seen too many people change when no one was watching. They were kind and careful only when their bosses were near. But once they had power, they became rude and proud. This was not the kind of people he wanted running his businesses. He thought hard about what to do, then an idea came to him. The restaurant he had just bought a week ago was the perfect place to test this. No one there had ever seen his face. They only knew him as the new owner on paper. He had refused to hold any meeting with them. He wanted to watch how they behaved without knowing he was there. He picked up his phone and called the warehouse manager assigned to supply the new restaurant with fresh food items. Please prepare all the supplies for the restaurant for this month, he said. I will deliver them myself. The warehouse manager was shocked and confused but did not ask questions. He knew Mr. Chinedu was a careful man. After the call, Mr. Chinedu smiled to himself. This will show me the truth, he whispered. I will see how they act when they think the owner is not around. But he did not know what to expect. Mr. Chinedu felt curious. Mr. Chinedu stood quietly in his room. He looked at himself in the mirror. Today, he was not the rich owner of many restaurants. Today, he was just a man with old clothes. He put on an old pair of trousers. The fabric was thin. His shirt had worn sleeves and looked faded. On his feet were old shoes, far from the polished ones he usually wore. He pulled the cap low over his eyes. It hid his face well. If someone looked at him now, they would never guess he had billions in the bank. He took a deep breath and whispered, no one will recognize me looking like this. For a moment, he stood still. Then, with steady steps, he walked out the door. The quiet man was ready to face what waited outside. Mr. Chinedu drove the delivery van himself. It was a white van. No one would think the man behind the wheel was a billionaire. He parked a short distance from the restaurant and looked around. From the outside, everything looked perfect. The building was clean. The signboard was shining. The glass windows had no dirt on them. He saw waiters in clean uniforms setting tables outside. Two of them helped an old woman find a seat and even pulled the chair for her. Inside the glass window, he saw chefs moving around. One wiped the counter. Another arranged fresh vegetables on a tray. Everyone looked busy and serious. They worked like they loved their job. Mr. Chinedu sat quietly in the van for a moment. What you see on the outside is not always the truth, he said to himself. He opened the van door slowly and stepped out. It was time to go inside and see what was real. Mr. Chinedu picked up one of the heavy boxes from the back of the van. He carried it into the restaurant step by step. As soon as he entered, everything changed. The smiles he saw from the window were gone. A young man in a white apron looked at him from head to toe. His eyes stopped at Mr. Chinedu's old shoes. Deliveries should be brought through the back door, the young man said sharply. I know, Mr. Chinedu said softly. But this one is for the kitchen store. The young man rolled his eyes. Use the back door next time. Mr. Chinedu kept walking. He didn't argue, he walked quietly holding the box. His eyes moved slowly from one person to another. He was watching, listening, learning. As he passed the front counter, a young waiter looked at him and laughed. Look at this man, the waiter said in a low voice to another worker. He cannot even afford proper shoes. The other waiter looked and smiled. Maybe he's just a beggar looking for food, he said. They both laughed, covering their mouths. Mr. Chinedu heard them. He kept walking. He didn't say a word. But the mockery didn't stop. Someone else whispered, can't he at least wear clean clothes? They laughed again. Mr. Chinedu placed the box down in silence. He looked around and realized how easy it was for people to mock someone they saw as insignificant. He touched his cap, wiped his forehead, and walked out for the next box. In his heart, he was not angry. This was why he came. Mr. Chinedu came in again with another heavy box in his hands. His shirt was already wet with sweat. He walked straight to the kitchen area. The head chef, Mr. Benson, was standing by the stove. He wore a white apron and a tall chef hat. He looked very proud of himself. Benson turned and saw Mr. Chinedu placing the box near the shelf. Hey! Be careful with that box, he shouted. You delivery people always break things. His voice was loud and sharp. Everyone around turned to look. Mr. Chinedu looked up slowly. He said nothing. He just nodded once and bent down to set the box gently on the ground. Mr. Benson folded his arms. I hope you didn't come here to scatter my kitchen, he said, eyeing Mr. Chinedu from head to toe. We don't need trouble here. Mr. Chinedu replied quietly, no sir, I'm only here to deliver the food items. Mr. Benson turned away and hissed. Next time, try to wear something decent. You look like someone who lives under the bridge. Some of the junior cooks laughed quietly. Mr. Chinedu stood up and wiped his hands. He looked around the kitchen and saw how the workers watched Mr. Benson like they feared him. Still, he said nothing. He turned and walked out to bring in another box. Deep in his heart, he was taking note, not of their words, but of their hearts. He bent down and picked up another box from the van. His back ached a little, but he didn't stop. Slowly, he walked into the kitchen holding the box with care. One of the waiters laughed again. Look at the way he walks, like the box is made of gold, he said, shaking his head. Another joined him. Maybe this is his big opportunity to enter a good place. Let him enjoy it. Mr. Chinedu heard them, but he didn't look their way. He placed the box gently on the floor, checked the label, and nodded to himself. The head chef, Mr. Benson, walked past him and clicked his tongue. You people are always slow. If this were my father's house, I would never allow such laziness. Mr. Chinedu said nothing. He picked up another box, but as he moved, His eyes watched everything closely. The mocking continued, but he stayed calm. He was not just delivering boxes. He was watching. He was learning. And soon, he would show them who he really was. Mr. Chinedu wiped his hands on his old trousers and walked to the manager's office. The door was closed. He knocked gently. From inside, he heard a voice say, "Come in." He pushed the door open slowly and stepped in. Mr. Steve, the restaurant manager, sat behind a large desk. 3 other persons sat with him holding cups of tea. They were the heads of different departments of the restaurant. They all turned to look at Mr. Chinedu. "Oh, it's just the delivery man," Mr. Steve said. His voice was flat. "Put the paper on the table." Mr. Chinedu walked in holding the supply list. He placed it on the desk without a word. They went back to their talk. "This new owner," one of them said. "He bought this place a week ago, yet we've not seen his face." "Yes," said another. "He only sends emails. No meetings. No visits. It's strange." Mr. Steve nodded. "He's probably shy. Or maybe he doesn't care. But I'm handling everything well." Mr. Chinedu stood there, listening quietly. None of them knew who he was. Another laughed. "Let's just hope he pays well and keeps this place running." They didn't look at Mr. Chinedu again. They didn't talk to him or even ask his name. They had no idea the man they were talking about was the one they had just referred to as just the delivery man. A woman who was one of the department heads sitting close by looked at him with a frown. She pointed carelessly and said, "You, go and get me coffee. And make it quick." Mr. Chinedu looked at her. His voice was calm. "That's not part of my job, ma'am." She hissed and rolled her eyes. "Is it not what you people do? Or are you too big to carry coffee now?" He said nothing. Mr. Steve didn't even raise his head. He just kept going through a document like nothing happened. Mr. Chinedu glanced around the room. No one said a word. It was like he wasn't even there. He slowly walked out of the room to get some coffee. Inside him, he was taking notes. Watching. Listening, but on his face, he stayed quiet. No one knew the same man they looked down on was the one who owned the chair they were sitting on. A few minutes later, Mr. Chinedu went to the restaurant supervisor's office to also deliver some supplies. He knocked gently on the supervisor's office door. "Come in," a woman's voice said. He pushed the door open. Miss Stella, the supervisor, sat behind a small wooden desk. Papers were neatly arranged in front of her. She looked up, and her face lit up with a warm smile. "Oh, it's you," she said kindly. "I've been seeing you carry all those heavy boxes. You've been working hard." "Thank you." Mr. Chinedu nodded. "I'm just doing my job, Ma." She opened a small fridge beside her and took out a bottle of cold water. She stood up and handed it to him. "Here," she said. "You must be tired. Please drink." Mr. Chinedu took the bottle slowly. "Thank you, Ma." She sat back down and looked at him closely. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, "Please don't take the way they treat you around here to heart." He looked at her, surprised. Miss Stella leaned forward a little. "Some of the workers here. They only respect people when they think the person has money or power. It's sad, but it happens a lot in this place." Mr. Chinedu listened quietly. She shook her head. "It's not right. We are all human. No job should make anyone feel less than the other." He smiled a little. "I see you," she added, "even if others don't. And I respect you." Mr. Chinedu gave her a slow nod. "Thank you," he said. "That means a lot." As he left the office, he felt something shift inside him. In all the darkness he had seen that day, Miss Stella's kindness was a small light. Mr. Chinedu carried the last 2 boxes through the hallway. His back ached, but he didn't slow down. He had done this kind of work many years ago, before the money, before the name, before the power. Now he was doing it again, but this time for a reason. He dropped one box near the pantry and took the other to the small storage room beside the kitchen. Then he wiped his hands on his trousers and stepped out slowly. As he walked back to the main dining room, he could hear laughter coming from one of the corners. "There goes the delivery man," someone said. Another added, "Maybe next time he'll bring shoes that don't have holes." The voices were not kind. They didn't hide the laughter. Mr. Chinedu paused at the door to the dining room. He stood still and looked around the room. He saw the same waiters who had laughed. The chefs who had ignored him. The manager who never once looked at his face. They had no idea. No idea that the man in torn shoes was the one to pay their next salaries. No idea that the man they mocked could change all their lives with one phone call. He took one last look. A deep breath. Then, without a word, he turned and walked out quietly. But in his heart, he had seen everything he needed to see. And he was not going to forget. It was almost closing time. The sky outside had started to turn grey, and the last few customers were finishing their meals. Inside the restaurant, workers were clearing tables and wiping counters. Then Mr. Steve, the restaurant manager, stepped into the middle of the dining room. He clapped his hands twice to get everyone's attention. "Everyone listen," he said firmly. "There will be a short meeting tonight before you all leave." A few people looked up from their duties. "Is something wrong?" One waiter asked. "No," Mr. Steve said. "The new owner. He wants to meet all of you." The room fell silent. Someone whispered, "The new owner." Another said, "Isn't he the man who never shows up?" "Yes," Mr. Steve replied. "He's never been here before. But tonight, he wants to meet the staff face to face." Now the workers began to murmur. Some were excited. Some were nervous. A few looked at their clothes, suddenly feeling underdressed. "Do we know who he is?" One of the chefs asked. "No," Mr. Steve said. "Even I haven't met him. But he called me a few minutes ago. He said he would be here by 7. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew the man they had looked down on all day was the one they were expecting. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. They waited, and the air was filled with questions. The clock struck 7. One by one, the workers walked into the big dining room. Chairs had been arranged for the meeting. No one said a word. The waiters sat together on the left side. They whispered and looked around, checking to see who was present. The chefs sat on the right side, arms folded, some tapping their feet. Near the back, the supervisors stood. They didn't sit. They kept their eyes on the front table. There was no laughter. No smiles. No one greeted anyone outside their group. It was like the room was split into pieces, each person staying in their own corner. Mr. Steve stood at the front looking serious. He held a paper in his hand. But he didn't read it. He was waiting too. A few workers glanced at the door. "Where is this owner?" One of the chefs whispered, "Maybe he changed his mind," another said. But no one got up. No one left the room. They were waiting to see the man they had never met, waiting to see what would happen next, and the silence in the room felt louder than words. The door opened slowly, all eyes turned. In walked the same man from earlier, the one with the old shoes, the worn-out shirt, and the cap that almost hid his face. He walked in quietly, just like he did that morning. For a second, the room stayed silent. Then one waiter leaned toward another and whispered, "Why is the delivery man here?" A few others laughed. One of the chefs frowned. "Is he lost?" he said under his breath. Someone at the back laughed. "Maybe he came to beg for food," a woman said, shaking her head. Mr. Steve stood up quickly. "Hey you. "This meeting is for workers in this restaurant," he said, pointing at him. "You've done your job for the day. You can leave now." Mr. Chinedu said nothing. He walked to the front of the room, slowly and calmly. The laughter stopped. Everyone was watching now. Something didn't feel right. Mr. Chinedu took off his cap. His face was clear now. Some people frowned. Others stared hard, trying to remember where they had seen that face before. Mr. Steve blinked, and for the first time that day, the room was truly quiet. No more whispers. No more giggles, just one man standing at the front. And behind his calm eyes was something no one could yet see coming. Mr. Chinedu stood still for a moment, then he took one step forward, looked around the room, and cleared his throat. His voice was calm. His eyes were steady. "I came here today to supply goods," he said. The room stayed quiet. No one moved. He took another step forward, "But I saw something. Something sad." People looked at one another. A few sat up straighter. "I was mocked," he said, his voice still calm. "Laughed at because of my shoes. Treated like I didn't matter." Some heads dropped. Others turned away. He looked at the chefs. Then at the waiters. Then at the supervisor standing at the back. "I entered the manager's office," he continued. "But no one looked at me. I was treated like I was invisible." No one laughed anymore. The woman who had asked him for coffee shifted in her seat. Mr. Steve looked frozen. Mr. Chinedu didn't shout. He didn't smile either. He just looked around slowly and said, "But the thing is, I wasn't just a delivery man." A loud silence filled the room. Mr. Chinedu stepped even closer. And with that, something was about to change, something they would never forget. He turned and looked straight at Mr. Steve. "You didn't notice me," he said, his voice firm. "You looked through me like I was nothing. Not even when one of the staff disrespected me right in front of you." Mr. Steve's face changed. His eyes grew wide. His lips moved, but no words came out. Everyone was watching now. The room was still. No one made a sound. Then Mr. Chinedu spoke again. "My name is Chinedu Okafor," he said slowly. "I am the owner of this restaurant." He paused, then added, "I bought it last week." A heavy silence dropped over the room. A waiter dropped the pen in his hand. One of the chefs sat down quickly, mouths opened. Some workers covered their faces. One man near the door leaned back like he had just seen a ghost. No one knew what to say. No one dared to speak. The same man they laughed at now stood in front of them. As the boss, and he was not smiling, Mr. Chinedu looked around the room. His eyes moved from one face to another. Some people looked down. Others could not even meet his eyes. He stood tall and spoke. "I will not sack anyone," he said clearly. People looked up, surprised. A few let out quiet breaths. "But listen to me well," Mr. Chinedu continued. "If you want to work with me, things must change." The room stayed quiet. No more pride. No more laughing at people who look different. No more thinking one job is bigger than another. He pointed gently toward the kitchen. "Without the kitchen, there is no food." Then he looked toward the waiters. "Without the waiters, there is no service." He paused. "Every job in this place matters, from the cleaner to the manager. Everyone must work together, or this place will fall." His voice was calm but firm. He meant every word. "From today," he said, "I want to see respect for each other. For the work, and for the people who walk through that door." The staff stood still. Some nodding slowly. They were not laughing anymore. Mr. Chinedu turned slowly to Miss Stella. His face was calm but strong. "You treated me with respect," he said. "You cared when others did not." He paused for a moment. "From now on, you are the new manager." Miss Stella's eyes grew wide. She nodded, barely able to speak. Then Mr. Chinedu looked at Mr. Steve, his voice stayed steady. "You will now serve as the supervisor." Mr. Steve's face changed. He did not say a word. As Mr. Chinedu walked toward the door, many people started to speak. "Sorry, sir." "I am sorry, sir." "We are sorry, sir." Some said it softly. Others looked down, ashamed. Mr. Chinedu stopped at the door and turned back. "Do not judge people by what they wear," he said clearly. "If you want to grow, you must learn to respect everyone." Then, without another word, Mr. Chinedu walked out of the restaurant. His old shoes touched the ground softly, no sound at all inside. The workers sat still. No one spoke, their eyes were wide, and their hands were quiet. That day was not just a meeting, it was more. They didn't just meet their new boss, they met the truth that showed them how wrong they had been, how much respect really matters, and how one man's quiet strength could change everything. The day stayed with them long after the doors closed, and so the people who laughed at the delivery man went home quiet that night. They had met a man in old clothes, but didn't know they were looking at their own boss. They judged him by his shoes, but forgot respect is not about what you wear, it's about how you treat people. Moral of the story: never look down on anyone. The person you think is nothing today may be everything tomorrow. Kindness costs nothing, but it can open big doors, and pride, it closes them. What did you learn from this story? Drop your answer in the comment section below. I would really love to read from you. There's another very interesting story coming your way in a few days, so subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when it drops. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next story.